That bacon cheeseburger you grill this Memorial Day may be a little more expensive. Ahead on this episode of NTV's Grow. We'll look at meat prices and look at the big picture of Nebraska livestock and the advantages of expansion, while also looking at what may be holding us back. Nebraska is the #1 cattle feeding state in the nation, but in some other livestock categories, we've slipped in the rankings. No state feeds more cattle than Nebraska. We recently overtook Texas for the #1 spot. We also have a strong meat packing industry that creates thousands of jobs in communities like Grand Island and Lexington. Some think Nebraska could be the global epicenter of beef production, and a top USDA scientist says all the ingredients are here.
It is a tremendous state for the production of beef cattle, and it's growing and showing that those are realistic objectives.
So why Nebraska? We've got plenty of water and plenty of corn to feed cattle, and marginal land that's maybe not good for crops, but good for livestock.
That's definitely a big concern on most dairies in Nebraska. Is the number of cows are definitely down in Nebraska.
Nebraska has been losing numbers when it comes to dairy and hog farms. Our special report continues later on in this episode. If you're headed to the grocery store, be prepared. Meat prices are as high as ever. A Kansas State University agricultural economist says beef and pork prices are at all-time record highs. Bacon and burgers cost 13 to 15% more compared to last year. The increased prices are because of animal health diseases, the drought, and a smaller number of cattle. But these prices don't seem to be stopping people from buying. And a warning about ground beef this Memorial Day. Nearly 2 million pounds of ground beef have been recalled by a Michigan company, which says meat could be contaminated with a potentially deadly strain of E. coli. So far, 11 people in 4 states have been sickened.
Well, the big deal is, first of all, it can cause widespread diarrheal disease. But more importantly, this is an infection that can be followed with an illness characterized by bleeding and kidney failure that can be fatal. So this is a double whammy associated with this kind of contamination.
The Wolverine Packing Company says all the meat is now out of circulation. The company defended its product, saying in a statement that none of their meat officially tested positive for the pathogen. Health officials say the best way to avoid getting sick is to cook your burger to well done. Even medium is not sufficient to kill the bacteria. Voters in 2 small Oregon counties are deciding whether or not to ban GMO crops from being grown. Organic farmers along the Oregon-California border say they don't want sugar beets to cross-pollinate with genetically modified seed grown by Syngenta. Some call it an assault on farming. Opponents of GMOs have scored small victories with labeling requirements in some areas. Nebraska producers now have most of the corn crop in the ground, but some may consider replanting after freezing conditions last week. According to the USDA, about 91% of the corn crop is planted, about average for this time of year. Temperatures averaged about 10 degrees below normal last week, with freezing temps reported on multiple nights. Producers are now assessing the impact on crops and evaluating if replanting is necessary. Meanwhile, the condition of the Kansas winter wheat crop continues to decline, despite spotty rains that relieved drought pressure in parts of the state. The National Agricultural Statistics Service reported this past Monday that 59% of the winter wheat crop is in poor to very poor condition. Only 12% is rated good to excellent in Kansas. The agency says that with pasture grasses shortened by drought, some producers are turning cattle out to graze on the failed wheat. Drought conditions continue to worsen in Kansas, prompting the governor to declare an emergency. All 105 counties in Kansas are now under some type of drought status, and some areas of the state have been in drought for almost 5 years. Governor Brownback issued an updated declaration putting 56 counties in the most serious emergency category. The declaration makes counties eligible for uses of water from certain lakes. A University of Nebraska scientist finds ways to help crops grow even in stressful conditions. University plant scientist Sally McKenzie's findings could even improve the yields of farmers in Africa and other developing countries. McKenzie discovered a way to produce plants with a strong growth even in harsh environments. The enhancements translated to yields up 35% higher than usual. The research is paid for with a nearly $3 million grant by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. After the break, talk to the state ag director about travel requirements for livestock and continue our in-depth look at the livestock industry and why zoning may be holding us back.